Welcome to the Roundup. This is a special episode where I tell Dan Reddit stories, but these are from the Am I the Asshole subreddit. And Dan has never heard of this before. So I'm really excited to see how he reacts to the assholes of Reddit. Dan, are you ready?
Yes, I am ready.
Okay, let's go. Am I the asshole for wanting my fiance to just pay the debt instead of living through her weird debt payback plan? I, 31, have about $67,000 in debt between college, my car, and a little bit on my credit card. I've been making my monthly payments on all of them, but it will still be many decades before I'm debt-free. My fiance, 29, is relatively debt-free. This wasn't always the case. She got a few scholarships to help with college, but did still have to take out a few loans to finish things up. She had to get a new car because the old one was cursed and was in more accidents while parked than we can count. And she did go through a manic period and almost run up her credit card in her early 20s shopping so much. However, she spent a lot of time getting her finances in order, worked multiple side gigs on top of her normal job, which I commend her for, and now is debt-free except for her mortgage, which she makes a ton of extra payments towards, and has almost $300K in investments, savings, etc. I'm very proud of her for everything she's done.
300K?
300K in investments, yeah.
Okay.
Now that we're engaged, we're planning on moving in together. She had a roommate we had to wait for the lease to end on before I could move in. And she has said before the wedding she wanted me to be debt-free. We chose a date 3 years from now since some of our family is out of the country and needs to save. And so it will be our 7th anniversary, both of our favorite number. She pulled out a spreadsheet of my debts and pointed out how if I put all of my paychecks minus maybe $200 a month for fun money into paying off my debt, I'll be debt-free by the wedding. She would cover everything else: the mortgage, food, bills, insurance, our pets, vacations, date nights, etc. We could then both aggressively save for that last bit of time for a nice honeymoon. And after that, focus a good amount of our funds on taking out the mortgage and getting my own savings up to snuff. I thought about it for a day or so and came back with this counteroffer. She pays off my debts and I pay her back in a year and a half, since I wouldn't also have to be paying interest. We would put a bigger dent in the mortgage and still stick to the timeline. She seemed unhappy with this and said she would have to think about it first. I casually mentioned it to my friends over beer to get another perspective, and they said I'm the asshole, and they would do anything to have the first 2-year offer to get debt-free, and that even if I paid her back, I'd still be taking 1/5 of her savings for a year and a half. So I'm here for judgment. Am I the asshole?
Wow, so there's a lot of information at the tail end of that story.
Yeah.
Do I think he's an asshole? I don't know, I'm kind of 50-50, right? I definitely feel like his future wife is trying to teach him a lesson.
Uh-huh.
So she's trying to get him situated with his debt. But I also, like, if you guys are planning to get married, I mean, maybe call me old school, but I'm married, right? I view it as our money, not yours and mine, right? And I think if you view it that way.
But they're not married yet.
But if you're planning on it, if you're moving together, if you're engaged, I also always have a red flag when someone's engaged and they're going to get married in 3 years.
But they're saving. So I think that's smart if they're saving to get married.
They're saving, they have $300K, she's debt-free, they have a mortgage.
But listen, that's all of her money. But if they get married, it's their money.
So everyone thinks their finances are going to be settled once they reach X point, right? Mm-hmm. What if they get married, lose a job, get into medical debt? There could be several different other scenarios, right? It's almost me thinking of like some of my friends thinking of the right time to propose. The right time is now. If you plan to spend the rest of your life together. It's now, and it's the combination of two, right? And that's where I feel like I don't think he is an asshole. I think he's an asshole to say, hey, just let's take your money and pay it off, and then I pay
That's
you
what
back,
he's asking
right?
her to do. Like, take 1/5 of her savings and pay off my debt. What if they don't get married?
Well,
Where's the guarantee that he's gonna pay her back?
So I guess why are they waiting 3 years to get married?
Because they're saving, remember? Because her parents and her family is out. Their family is out, so they have to save also to come.
She has $300K. I mean, there's
in
probably
investments, not
there's
just savings.
probably certain expectations of what the wedding needs to be, or where it needs to go, or how much they're going to spend on that. Because it definitely sounds like his future wife is very financially focused, which is great, but then probably has a lot of expectations based off of what he shared, or his side of the story, right? I don't think she should just pay the debt up front, but I also feel like, hey, instead of you sacrificing your entire budget, let's figure out how we can both tackle this.
No, but she's doing that. She said that you can have 2 years to just focus on your debt and pay it off, and I'll do the mortgage, food, bills, insurance, our pets, vacations, date nights. So she is doing all of that
It's
for
like a
him
temporary sugar mama. In a
for
way.
2 years.
Yeah, I get it.
You don't think he's an asshole?
I don't think he's an asshole. I don't. I think there's a middle compromise, and guess what? If you're gonna get married, there's always gonna be compromises with anyone you have a lifetime relationship with, right? So I don't think he's an asshole. I think there's definitely more discussion to have. I think communication is key here, especially with finances and keeping
Okay,
things
Dr.
honest.
Oz. Okay, let's see what Reddit has to say. So, Reddit said, you're the asshole. You're an entitled asshole for not accepting her very generous offer and expecting her to do even more. Your counter offer is laughable, and she would be an idiot if she agreed to it. What do you say to that?
They have some good points. A little bit aggressive. I mean, it's kind of internet banter, right? But it doesn't change my thought process. She had one side of the story, he had another, or an offer, right? Both sound appealing, and at the end of the day, I guess he needs to think of both of their income as theirs, because she is providing a pretty good offer, right? So
She is. I think she was being very generous with him.
I don't think she would be a fool for trying to pay it off. And that's just
But
one
they're
person's
not
opinion.
married yet. And like, you loan somebody $67K. It's not $6,000, it's $67,000
Yeah.
from her savings.
Well, why wouldn't they just get married tomorrow, or in 6 months have a smaller wedding and then have a bigger celebration in 3 years?
No, they're waiting for their families to save so they can come, because they're out of the country. They're waiting for the family so they can have the family around for the wedding.
Okay.
They're not.
I still
saving
think
for
there's
the
tax
wedding.
advantages to save on your taxes if you're married and filing jointly, which can help them pay off that debt.
We're
even
not
faster.
talking about the entire situation. We're only talking about this one question.
You asked for my opinion, that's it.
Okay, he doesn't think this man is an asshole. But let's read some more comments. Chances he would bail right after she pays his debts off. High or very high? What do we think? I think very high. You do something like that for a man, he'll probably leave you.
For a man, for a woman, for really anyone, yes, they can leave. But I'm assuming they've probably been together for a few years. They know each other. They're moving in together. I mean, anything can happen. And I guess as I'm hearing this, maybe giving $60K towards paying off that debt isn't the smartest move for her. But again, just get married and then have a larger celebration. But that's my process. I know there's different cultures and whatnot, and family has to be involved in that. But at least here in America, like that's normal.
Other comments. He would say, she's always lording it over my head that I need to make my monthly payments, or doesn't understand why I skipped it. We will be married soon, and our money should be exactly that, our money. So why should I pay myself back or other bullshit nonsense? I think Reddit is just very untrustworthy of people. And Dan has never, this is his first time even finding out what am I the asshole is. So that's why he's like, okay, maybe he's really nuanced in his approach. I'm not. I think this dude is an asshole.
I'm also married, and Khadija is not. So
and
she
you would
doesn't
never
understand.
do that to somebody. So like, you don't understand. But there are people who would just like take 67K and run. You know what I mean? So like, if you're watching this, don't give him the money. Don't give him the 67K. Your offer was already very generous. 2 years of you paying all of his bills. Don't give him 67K. And that's it for our first story. All right, next story. This one, it has an update. So Reddit loves an update. Okay, so am I the asshole for refusing to forgive a debt that will cost my sister a house? Just off the top of my head, yes. But let's read it. Original post. My mother died about 2 months ago. She didn't leave behind much other than a paid house worth about 180K.
Not much?
And a little money in
there's
the
plenty of people that don't get anything. If not, they get debt.
Okay. And a little money in the bank. We don't know how much money. Mom announced a couple of years ago that she intended to leave her a house to my sister, Sarah, who takes care of her severely disabled son full time. Mom said that she wanted to make sure they had a roof over their heads and the rest of her kids could make it on their own. Sarah does struggle a lot and has said many times that she wouldn't have been able to make it without Mom. When Mom died, she had some bills outstanding, but her biggest debt was that she owed me $37,000. I had loaned her the money so that she could fix her plumbing and septic system, as well as making the house more handicapped friendly for Sarah and Jeremy. I think Jeremy is the son. Mom had been paying me back every month. I have paperwork proving the money is owed to me. Here is the problem. If I file a claim against her estate like any other creditor would do, my brother John, Mom's executor, will have no choice but to pay it. But to do so, he will have to sell the house since there isn't money in the estate to pay it any other way, which means that Sarah and Jeremy will have to find a different place to live. I know Mom wanted Sarah to have the house. There is also the issue that Mom's will said Sarah got the house, but any money in the estate would be split evenly between the four of us.
This has asshole smell all over it.
So technically, we think that means Sarah wouldn't actually get anything. John is talking to a lawyer to make sure he's reading that right. Sarah is also concerned that if she did get a large amount of money, John and I have both said we would give her whatever we got from the house if it does get sold. That could interfere with the help she gets from the government. Okay, this is big. John and Sarah are both pushing me not to file a claim against the estate. But if I don't, then the loan basically goes away. Sarah has said that she will pay it back to me and would even sign a new loan. The trouble is that I don't believe her. She has borrowed money before and never paid it back. Not because she doesn't want to, but because she can't afford to. She struggled with money living with Mom, so it is going to be even worse for her without Mom paying her bills in the house as well. If I don't file a claim, I will be out $37,000, and that is far more than I want to hand over as a gift, even to my sister. I've told John and Sarah that I'm officially filing a claim on Monday morning. They are both calling me a greedy asshole and telling me that I'm ignoring what Mom wanted. I think it's unreasonable to expect me to just forget $37,000. Am I the asshole? Before you even say anything, why would you loan money to a family member when you know they can't pay you back? $37,000, are you insane? Go.
Yes, he's a greedy asshole. She's a greedy asshole, yeah. I'm sorry. Especially if she's taking care of other family members with disabilities, right? Which is a tough situation at its best. And then And then, like, you have $37,000 to give somebody. Like, I can understand, like, hey, I borrowed you $1,000. Hey, I borrowed you $2,000. Like, okay, I'm not going to give you $3,000, but $37,000 is a lot of cash to somebody, right? Obviously, you could afford it. Obviously, you kind of have to take
Would you ever loan
your siblings' word, right?
Would you ever loan money?
There's been plenty of times we've loaned each other money, right?
But like $37,000.
We never loaned that much, but if Nick came to me and I had $37,000,
we didn't have that much.
Yeah, we didn't have that much. I couldn't even comprehend that much for a very, very long time of my life. But like, if it was, hey, this is for my family. I don't. The money's not like the be all.
Okay, but what if this was you? You loaned your brother $37,000, right? And then your mother left your brother. Your mother left your brother a house, and you could do the similar. Would you do that? Would you do something like this to your own brother?
Would I loan him the money?
No. Would you do this entire like?
No.
Exactly.
Absolutely
okay.
not. Like, I would take his word to say, hey, all right, let's set up another agreement and figure this out. Now, if he, at the end kind of swindles me or whatnot and doesn't want to pay me back, I'll just take it as a loss, right? Like, it's family. But again, I don't think you just wrote a check for $30,000. You continued to give money, and then your mom was paying you back because, you're her loving child, and she just wants to keep the family, probably tamed instead of up in flames.
And
because
also
of
the
some money.
severely disabled son.
Yeah. So just like, I don't know.
So she's just gonna make them homeless. If she files a claim, she'll make them homeless.
I mean, there's obviously equity in the house and splitting that and whatnot,
But then she won't get any help from the government. Government assistance, you only have to make to a certain point to get government assistance. But if you don't make to that certain point, you don't.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, this person's a complete asshole.
Absolutely.
Figure out the rest. If not, if you had the ability to borrow $37,000, you just cut it as a loss. And then don't borrow them any more money, right?
Exactly. This is what the comments said. And then we'll go to the update. So, you are the assholes for a few reasons here.
I finally agree with this one.
Okay. You refuse to wait for your brother, the executor, to talk to an attorney, which is literally happening later in the week. Several people have made outstanding points, like getting a new contract or a lien against the house. You absolutely will not hear out a single word of it. Just repeatedly saying she will not pay and I'll never see the money. Why did you lend it to her? That's where contracts and liens come in. They are literally there to protect you. Number 3, you state you are quite financially stable right now. She had the ability to lend $37,000 and that you do not need this money right this second, but you're also willing to help find any workarounds for your sister and her multiple children. You're happy to make her homeless. Number 4, you claim that you and John are willing to give her your share, but are unsure if the other sibling will.
And I'm all for borrowing money to relatives when I have it and keeping them honest, right? Like, if you you have to pay me back. I'm not just a donator here, right? And then also having them, build some type of trust and structure, especially if you're giving financial trust to a family member. So I'm right on point here in terms of what this responder is saying.
And reason number 5, you are willing to make your sister and her children homeless over money that you are not in dire need. She's gonna make them homeless. Can you believe? Okay, let's read the update.
Yeah.
I just spit out. I'm so mad. Okay, let's read the update. Okay, this is the update. I officially submitted the paperwork to John to get payment for the debt. However, I decided that would forgive 1/4 of the debt. So instead of claiming $37,000, I'm claiming $27,750.
Oh, thank you. It still seems like a problem.
I told my siblings that I would forgive 1/4, and if it keeps the house for Sarah is important to them, then they each need to come up with the same. So far, they are saying they will not contribute. I get this. John and I spoke with the lawyer, and we were wrong about how any cash from the sale of the house would be dispersed. First, any liquid assets have to be used to cover debts. Then if assets need to be liquidated, then whoever was supposed to get that assets get whatever proceeds are left after paying debts. So no matter what my siblings do, Sarah will get the rest of the money if the house is sold. Okay, this is good. This is good. This is good. The lawyer also pointed out the same thing many people here did, that giving Sarah the money could affect her benefits. Instead, he suggested she turn down the inheritance in favor of placing the money into a special needs trust for her son. Sarah will be talking to the lawyer on her options and exactly what that means. Sarah is attempting to get a loan using the house as collateral. Not all the paperwork is in order yet. Exactly how much will be left in the estate after all debts are paid. And we are probably looking at needing to get a professional appraisal of the home first. One person at the bank talked to her and said that with her credit score and income, she doubts she would be approved, but that she should process the application once Sarah gets all the data. So this is an end. I don't know how I feel about this. How do you feel about this?
Although like one sibling borrowed $37,000 to another, I still feel like they're like, you know, a big life change happened. They lost one of their parent, their mother, right? There's just so much conflict, right? And people put so much weight on finances, which I know they're a very important part of life. But just like sometimes you gotta give more than you get, right? And I'm a big believer of that. There's a lot of moving pieces here, and probably family drama stacked on top of that. So I don't know. I just figure out what works best so everyone can live comfortably instead of just one person getting back what they're owed.
He won't say it, but I'll say it. The OP is an asshole.
Yeah.
You're an asshole, sir, or whoever you are. You didn't specify what your gender was, but you're an asshole. And that's it. That's all I have to say for this story.